welcome to Queer Games Heck Yeah for today. I'm Luke Miller, I'm a game dev. I love queer and indie games for many reasons. Watch some of the other videos. Today we're working through games that are in Pride at Play, which is a touring exhibit of thoughtful queer games from Asia and Pacific regions, Oceania as well. Today we're doing something a little bit different because one of the things about Pride at Play is it's a mixture of like online games but also like tabletop games, which we can't really do on stream here because I ain't got no friends. But also there's a couple of like multiplayer games in there as well, including one developer who I've seen a few times over the years. They've had a few games in the Queer Games Festival, which I help out with. And I've always been a big fan of their work, but it's kind of like because it's multiplayer, not even multiplayer, like a party game where you need people in the same room. And as I said, I ain't got no friends, so it's like how do you show those games? And I've kind of been putting it off and putting it off, but I thought, you know what? I really love this dev so much that I'm going to give it just sort of, I don't know, like walk it through a bit, even if we're not like playing the games. I just kind of want to see what the new games are about because I guess their really famous one is Pretzel After Dark, which has been around for, oh, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. Just really sort of fun. Well, we'll probably see it, but anyway, let's get to it. I thought, because we're breaking the format up a bit of Queer Games Heck Yeah, normally we just have a game and we play it, and we don't really like to know much about the games or the devs themselves. So bear with me as I kind of figure out what I'm doing. So I thought I'd just start with like the dev page on itch. Is it itch.io or itch.io or itch? I can never quite tell, you know. So if you have suggestions, please let me know how it's meant to be pronounced. But other than that, here we are. We're at the Milkymilkface page. Is the developers? I guess we call this the developer. But in Private Play, they're under the name Timothy Snowdon, which I believe is like is like a solo dev. But it seems really weird to use a developer's like real name. It feels like I don't know. It just feels kind of like rude and unnatural. So I probably won't refer to them as Timothy too often, but then also, Milky Milkface. I don't know if that's the name they want to be known by. But I mean, they've put it in giant writing up on the screen, so it's kind of, but it's kind of like calling people by their company name as well, which is also a little bit odd. Once again, I don't know the etiquette here. So as you can see, just a really cute bunch of like really interesting little games. I've only played like Pretzel After Dark and Pact, but the ones we're looking at today are Bodily Visions. No, are the Triangulate and Small Orbits. What's there to say? Well, let's look at Pretzel After Dark. This is the classic. This is the original. It's sort of a twister kind of game. So you've got you and your partner. I think it's just a little sort of intimacy game, which I think is really nice. And it was the first time I'd seen it in queer games or gaming in general. Really, was this idea that um, you know games for adults that are not necessarily like just pure sex games, right? It's just kind of about intimacy, which is really, I think, quite revolutionary. And once again, this is quite an old game. I think this is like 2017. So quite a pioneer in that regard. So yeah, if you just got your friend here, you just randomly get a suggestion on where you have to kind of put a limb. In this case, right hand to knee. So you do that, and then you go to the next round, and it's like left foot to left foot, and it's just about that sort of twister-esque, you know, kind of element. But also, I find it's done up in quite a neat package. Like, I really love the art direction in this. He says, staring at a picture of two bulges on the screen. It's so artistic. No, but I actually think it is genuinely good art because it's also quite light and fun, and also quite body positive. So actually, as like a little art object, I really think this is an important game. But also, if you have a partner, if you've got a boyfriend, why am I so afraid of that word? If you have a boyfriend, I actually think maybe give this game a go one day. because I think it's just a nice little kind of like, holiday from yourself kind of thing. All right, let's move on to a game I have not played. Let's go with small orbits or triangulate. Well, let's go triangulate because I think it's conceptually a little bit similar to Pretzel After Dark. Begin. Each player uses their phone and gets their own rules to follow. Read and solve all the rules one at a time. Remember, this is not a game. Uh-oh. Well, you stand away from one person. So I'm just going to assume you on the other side of the screen are the other person, but I'll be playing us both today. Uh, you stand away from one person. Okay, add a rule. You rest your head on a different person. I see. Well, we need three people for this. Oh gosh, I don't think I know three people anymore post-COVID. Okay, you rest your head on a different person. You continuously circle one or more people. Oh, oh, there we go. Oh, each. So maybe that's now someone else's turn. You point your leg towards a different person. You physically link everyone together. Yeah, see, this is another like little intimacy game, I think. Really super cute, isn't it? A good party game as well. Like I think that's because I find games can be a very like solo experience, very silo experience, So I think it's these experiments and sort of breaking out of like that whole sitting in front of a screen kind of thing, sitting playing by yourself is really interesting. Like making games a party. I wish I could do it. I actually think it's kind of like hopefully something we'll see more of in the future. All right, so that's Triangulate. Let's move on. See, I knew these games would be very short because I knew even if you have people to play with, well, actually that would be a bit of a longer game for sure. But they're very short games, I suppose, and because we're just sort of looking through them just to see what they're about. I knew we'd probably do, rather than do a video for each, I thought we'd do like a retrospective of this developer, which is the first time we've done that on Quick Games Heck Yeah. Which leads us to Small Orbits, which the graphic style is quite different, but also awesome in its own way. Oh, I love this kind of like. I don't quite have the word for it. I kind of think of it as like a sort of 1970s Italian kids show kind of look. Because I guess that's what I'm familiar with, like lumps of clay or little paper ducks kind of thing. But I know there's got to be some other name for it. But it also ties into kind of like low poly aesthetics a little bit. But then it also ties into this thing that I'm kind of working through a bit in my own world a bit, like of game design, that games have kind of come from this kind of juvenile place, but the aesthetics of that have grown up. So here we have like just a smiley face on a circle, right? Which is really, it's almost something you would do in like preschool or like as a 3-year-old. But who knows what shenanigans it's going to get up to, kind of thing. It's like that I can't quite articulate it, I guess. It's kind of like the language of like films is all like guns and cars and, I don't know, adult faces in the screen kind of thing, saying adult words. But the language of games is like simple shapes and bold colors. And it's kind of like if you've got two adults standing by a kitchen sink arguing, that's an inherently like reality mature adult kind of place. But like a bunch of triangles with some spheres rolling around, that's inherently like a playground kind of space. So what does that mean to do like I don't know. I'm working it out. I'm figuring it out. I think that's one of the inherent things that I'm interested in games at the moment. And I'm kind of interested. Maybe it's the story of our generation a bit. Like we grew up with these toys, and now we're making like sophisticated versions of it. I don't quite have a thought there. If anyone knows, I'm sure there's like been a whole bunch of academic work on this. If people know of any kind of like Well, I'm not going to say like paper or long essay or video because I actually don't want to watch anything or read anything. But if you've got like a 20-word tweet that explains everything, or 20-word toot, I should say, please link it to me below. This game is about you and me, played on one device shared between us. I sit and read what's on the screen out loud, and you move around me. We follow the directions as best we can, responding any way we like, and make choices about how we want to be together. Next. Together, we begin to move about the space, drifting around, nearer and farther from each other, forming loops that intersect and overlap. While we do not touch, you do not avoid me, and I do not avoid you. Eventually, we collide. Ah, yeah. Milkymilkface. I think what the the genius they bring to their games is this whole idea of like uh, multiple people being physically present. I think that is just really it's so rare in games, right? For a lot of reasons, but also I think they bring like body awareness into their games, and I think that's really advanced. Really sophisticated, um, and not easy to do because it's kind of like how would you do it? How do you do it? Together we begin to move around the space, drifting around. Eventually we collide. Do I resist your force or break under it? We push into each other, continuing to move around. Continue to move, though making no progress. We push and push as if, with enough conviction, our bodies might dissolve, our atoms slipping between their bonds as both of us succeed in our path. If we change our orientation just a little, our paths will diverge. We bend around our stubbornness and slip away. Ah, I love that heart. We face each other, reach out a hand, palms touching, entwine our fingers. I let my arm relax and hold your hand aloft. You move our hands left and right, feeling the weight of my body. At odd intervals, I briefly hold my own weight again. Counteract your movement and then release. My arm jiggles, then tenses, jiggles, and tenses. Is this a serious activity or is it silly? Okay, I'm like, this is really interesting because it's almost as if the Snowdon has taken kind of what he hopes will happen with Pretzel After Dark, this kind of body awareness, body contact kind of element, and is now like writing it up because I don't think you would be playing this game. Like, I find it hard to mean two people would be sort of spinning around a room reading this text out on their phone. So I do think this is actually kind of a solo version of um, Triangulate and Pretzel After Dark in a way. Is this a serious activity or is it silly? Ah, oh, silly every time, but in a good way, in the best way. We both begin to alternate between relaxing and tensing our arms, shifting between looseness and near fighting for control. In our struggle, I try to make you laugh while you try to make me laugh. The silliness of this makes us look at our bodies differently. Our bodies are a playground of opportunity that we move within and through at all times. Ah, see what I mean? How I've never seen a game really talk about I don't know, like body awareness in a way that queer games talk about it, you know, and like couples intimacy. Genius. I begin to move, swaying gently. You watch me as I move side to side like a pendulum. From nothing, you feel this motion echoing inside your body. It's so small it's almost not there, but something is moving, undulating. Do you begin to move with me or do you counteract it? Oh, I'll move with you. My swaying fills your body, meeting that tiny echo of movement already inside you. You join me in swaying, becoming part of a motion bigger than both of us. We sway in our own time, never quite the same. We move in and out of synchronicity, with perfect movements of unity, appearing from nothing and falling away again. Ah, oh, there we go. That is Small Orbits. What an interesting development for for the dev. I can kind of see the progression of where they were going with their game design. I'm reading a lot into it. I understand that, but I do think that this was an attempt to capture like the design aims or the goals of their other work in more of a gamey form. Was it as successful as Pretzel After Dark? I mean, it's hard, isn't it? And it would be tough. Like I have like my most popular game is like 10 years old, right? So it's kind of like um, I'm always more than happy to be compared, like have my new games compared to it or whatever, for sure, because I love that game and I really love the reception for it. But also at the same time, it's a bit like um, you don't always want to. Oh, no, I don't know where I'm going with that thought. I've lost that train of thought. Um, I feel like this was almost a manifesto about Milkymilkface's work, you know? And I think for that is kind of interesting. Well, plenty to think about from this game. Like, once again, another 1 minute game, 2 minute game, but actually so much in there for a game developer or a person who loves games, just to kind of think about what games can be. Thank you for joining me here on Queer Games Heck Yeah, and for a look through the games of Timothy Snowdon, part of Pride to Play. I'll see you next time.